Oh, yeah, what's up? Singaporean lawyer.
Oh.
Hello.
Yeah,
What would you like to say?
I don't think abortion is child sacrifice.
I don't see how it's not. It's murder of a baby child.
Well, I think it's murder of a fetus, not a child.
Yeah, but a fetus is a human.
Yeah. You wouldn't call like a fully grown man a child, so.
No, but you call like a 1 week year old baby a child.
Yeah, but that's after they're born.
Yeah, so I don't see like what's the difference just because someone's born versus not born. I don't see why
Well,
that's.
is this more of a pro-life stance, or is it more like, oh, we're gonna argue about the semantics of what child means? Well,
Um. Well, yeah. I mean, like that's ultimately what it comes down to because an unborn baby is a child, and if you unalive a child, it's a child sacrifice. It's that simple.
well, I don't think it's unalive in the traditional sense. Um, when you say child sacrifice, like, what do you mean by that? Child sacrifice in what sense? Like, I think I'm asking more about the sacrifice part.
It's just like in the past, societies unalived children for like economic purposes because they thought it would like help with their crops or whatever. And women today, people unalive children for convenience or for economic reasons.
What if they're doing it to save themselves? Like, for example, if you defend yourself against an attacker because that attacker has a weapon, you're not doing like it human sacrifice because you're defending yourself, right?
What's that?
Yeah, so like if you do self defense, you're not doing human sacrifice by unaliving the other person to self defense, right?
Yeah. I
You're
wouldn't
doing
call
human
it.
sacrifice.
What?
You're doing human sacrifice by
No,
defending yourself.
no, you're
Yeah,
not.
yeah, and in some cases, people have to do an abortion to save themselves and their own life because childbirth would unalive them.
That's like pretty much never.
I
That's
know, but in some cases it happens. So would you call those cases child sacrifice?
Are you trying to be funny?
No.
Um,
What do you think? Is it child sacrifice in those moments or in those cases? I mean, sorry. Let me
I just don't
rephrase.
think those. I don't think that's real. Like,
What? What? It's totally real. It
I
happens
think
sometimes.
I think they should just like monitor the situation, and if I guess the mom's life or the baby's life is threatened, then they take action on the circumstance. I guess.
And would that you consider that human sacrifice?
I read a story of a woman who the doctor said like it'd be unhealthy for her to have a baby and that she should have an abortion, but she decided to like fight for the baby's life, and she just monitored it, and everything went fine, and everything was fine. Like the doctors don't know everything,
But
so
would you? Let's say there, like, just hypothetically, it's objectively known that it's gonna unalive you if you do a procedure. Would you consider it human sacrifice then at that point?
if it's like yeah, I guess like if the mother's gonna unalive, that wouldn't probably not be a child sacrifice.
Yeah. So then the general statement that abortion is child sacrifice is then wrong. Do you concede to that?
No.
But you just said that in some cases in abortion it's fine.
Yeah, but that doesn't. That's not like a. It was a hypothetical. It's not a real.
Well, it happens sometimes, man.
No, it
It's like,
doesn't.
are you gonna deny it never happens that some woman could die from having childbirth? That come up to.
Yes.
Now you're just being disingenuous.
No.
So you don't believe that.
No.
What if I told you a case where someone died from going for childbirth? Would you still deny it? I
Um,
told you a specific case where that happened.
mm,
What do you think?
well, sometimes people die in childbirth, but I don't think we can
Yeah,
safely
so
say
then
pregnancy.
say again. I'm sorry, I didn't hear the rest of that.
I don't think. Well, like yeah. Sometimes women die in childbirth, right?
Yeah.
So there's no way to like know that until it happens. So
Well, sometimes they know for a fact it would happen, right? But
no,
I guess there's a no.
no.
So what if it's 99.9% accurate that it's gonna
They don't.
happen? Would
They
you
don't.
say?
Doctors don't know what the hell they're doing.
Well, doc. So if you're having cancer, you wouldn't go to a doctor because they don't know what the hell they're doing.
Well, I would go to a doctor, but like,
Yeah, so they do know what they're doing.
well, no, because like my dad had bladder cancer, and he went to the doctor, and he goes, "I think I have bladder cancer," and the doctor said like, "Oh no, you're silly. It's not bladder cancer." And then it turns
If
out
they
my
do an
dad.
inspection of his ball
It
sack,
turns out my dad was right, and the doctor was wrong. So doctors don't always get things right. They're not
well,
perfect.
did they do an inspection of his ball sack and check if he got bladder
Doctors
cancer?
aren't perfect, right? And so like when they say, "Oh, you're gonna die if you give birth," they don't know what they're talking about.
So you think
I think we should monitor the situation unless like the mother is like
so you think you should just wing it and like just say fuck what the doctor thinks, let's just do it. You think that you should wing it
yeah,
and risk
because
that?
they're psychos.
Would
Doctors
you
are
want your
psychos.
Would you want your own mom to risk her own life or like just wing it because maybe the doctor's just dumbass and doesn't know what he's talking about, so we can just have to go for the childbirth and like even the doctor says that you could die from it. Fuck him, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Would you let your mom go through with that? Would you be like, mom, that's pretty irrational thinking right there?
Yeah, I don't know. Do you got like a point you're gonna make or anything?
I just made a point, man. Would you let your mom go through with that? Like just wing
Yeah,
it?
my mom was against abortion, so she would not.
Yeah, but like your mom's life, or okay, no, forget that. Your doctor says that
You
your
answered the
mom's life is in
question. I answered
danger.
the question. I answered the question. You keep asking the question. Welcome.
Did you kick Mo?
Yeah, I kicked him.
I mean, his point was kind of valid, but can't lie. Leave it. Also, can I want to debate number one. How is Christianity objectively proven?
The transcendental argument for God.
Yeah.
So like, are you 18 or older?
Come on, boy. Don't ask me that question. Just allow it.
Just allow it. Yeah, just allow it. Just allow it.
I'm actually like on your side, but I was gonna throw something to the guy before when he presented the case of like the mother's life. Thomas Aquinas argued the doctrine of double effect. That means for us to take a life that is like innocent, we have to meet like certain criteria for it to be like just. Like the event would have to be like first, it would have to be an action that would have to be good. Then this action would have to be like presupposing the effects. So if I make this action, it has to be before the consequences exist, and then it would have to have good intent, and then it would have to be serious enough. So you'd have to like meet all those criteria to like justify that. So there is like a logical framework for the justification if it can meet certain criteria. But he would then have to meet that criteria.
if I guess there's a situation where like the mother's gonna die
Yeah, truly, yeah.
and we have to remove the baby and there's like no way to save either one, then
Yeah, like for example, like if I use like an example of like somebody aggressing upon somebody and in self-defense they struck that individual to preserve their self and that struck accidentally unalive the individual, you would say that wasn't necessarily an unjust action because they weren't trying to unalive this individual by the strike. They were trying to self-preserve and self-defense. So that would meet those all the criteria and be
it's like a
serious.
soldier jumps on
Yeah. Yeah. So
uh,
something like that. But he wasn't really pointing at that, so he wouldn't have actually met that criteria.
yeah, I would look at it as like sometimes the moms choose maybe to sacrifice themselves to give the baby a chance.
Yeah, I would say that's virtuous. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
That's like jumping on a grenade or something.
Yeah. That's actually another example it uses in the same doctrine of double effect because, like, for example, we would agree that, like, self unaliving is not a good thing necessarily. But there's a way in which self unaliving could be just, which would be like if you were to jump on a grenade to save, like, your comrades. This would not be an action where you're, like, trying to self unalive with, like, a bad purpose, but, like, a good purpose. That'd be like an example of that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. He just wasn't really like following, so he wasn't really being honest to you intellectually.
Yeah, I don't think that hypothetical is not like a real thing. I don't think there's ever really situations where it's like, I mean, like maybe one in a billion.
They're very rare.
Yeah.
Like I said, you would have to like think of pretty crazy hypotheticals to see where it happened. You can see like the logical like framework would be there, but then to meet that criteria, it just covers like the extremes.
But then again, sometimes doctors don't know too. Like,
Oh yeah, the doctors are not going to know this stuff. I mean, how many times they give like times in which somebody can live with cancer and then they're wrong all the time. I mean, they just work off their best knowledge they can,
yeah.
and sometimes that's not enough.
I read a story. A woman, she got like elbowed when she was pregnant, which caused like hemorrhaging, and then there was like a big worry, but the pregnancy ended up okay. And then when she got pregnant again, they said because of that previous hemorrhaging that she shouldn't have the baby. Like it could cost her life. And she decided, she's like, they advised her to abort it, and she's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And she's like, we're just going to monitor the situation, and then, if something happens, then we'll get into the hospital right away. So
Yeah, that's always what I tell people. Like, it's got to meet like a certain threshold because you could make a claim that anything could be a danger to you. Like, I could get in a vehicle right now and drive, and there is a risk of something occurring. But does that meet any like necessary threshold where we could like then like violate another rights bearing individual like the child in utero is? And you'd have to meet like a high level criteria. Just like in like a self defense argument, like there would have to be some sort of like necessary condition for you to like meet where it's like just to do this action.
I guess like the doctors like not viewing the like fetus as a person or something, so they're thinking like,
Yeah, that's the issue. They're not giving when they're critiquing our positions with this, they're assuming that we have the presupposition that the child doesn't have equal rights to any other individual, and us that are like abolitionists or pro-life will give the child equal consideration to every other human being. And because they don't see it that way, they don't always understand that's a presupposition in our stance.
my cat,
You know what I mean?
my cat starts like eating my chair if I don't give him food.
Maybe like that.
Don't worry, I'm like, oh my gosh, he's gonna like eat something that's gonna get stuck, and then
Yeah, I was trying to run like tag for God and Christianity a lot for some of the arguments I use.
yeah, I like tag. The only problem is like it's kind of abstract, and I think it goes over people's heads. They don't really get it.
Yeah, it does.
But it's such a good argument.
I was using a lot of the Thomas Aquinas proofs and then using deduction from some of the proofs to further on into Christianity later, but I don't think a lot of people follow that. So I've had trouble with people like actually tracking it.
The problem with the other proofs, like Aquinas, they
Yeah.
were designed in a world where like everyone was a Christian. There was no like skepticism.
Yeah.
So they only really work if you already kind of accept.
They're not going to work against like an anti-realist or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, if someone's a skeptic, they just automatically dismiss any supernatural. So like first cause, they'll go, "Oh yeah, well it's a natural cause." They're not gonna even think of a supernatural cause. So
Yeah, and you can attack them in different stances, but you still have a valid framework with that. They just don't understand that's a valid framework. I would say, like it's a valid framework to pre-assume the existence of God, and they would argue with that. But they make the same type of presuppositions as well in their stances. They
yeah,
just
I
don't.
don't know. I don't understand that. Like they assume all these things without evidence, and all of a sudden well, when it comes to God, I mean, all of a sudden I need evidence. Like I don't understand that. It seems really inconsistent.
Yeah, I was debating someone the other day, and I was like, "Yeah, you're attacking my presupposition of God, but you have a lot of presuppositions as well without any backing for this presupposition. So, like, where do you feel like you can do this? But then tell me I cannot."
Some of the smarter, like philosopher ones, they'll take the position that's like both positions are rational, and again, it's this like everything, anything's true. It's just like your opinion, my opinion, everything's true.
Yeah. Well, I mean, things can be logically possible, but not realistic in the like framework in which we were, and therefore like almost become fallacious. It just wouldn't meet other criteria outside of logic. You can meet the logical framework and then not be true, you know?
But because like modern philosophers have sort of just ignore metaphysics, and metaphysics is trying to figure out what's actually real, and they just say like, well, we can't know, so it's just like whatever people think, I guess. Like there's no way to know. Like for example, they can't defeat the matrix problem. Like
Yeah, I mean, I even go as far as that if like we're creatures of reason, there would have to be like, for example, someone that has reason has to exist to be able to like utilize something like logic, but logic exists without the mind or independent of the mind. So then where would that stem from or where would that come from?
mhm.
Something like mathematics or logic. Because we know it to be mind independent, but also a mind needs to be there to be able to interpret it.
Mm.
So there would have to be some sort of like greater reason or greater mind that's independent or never changing. And since God would be a perfect being, he would be never changing and independent.
Right, because I think the laws of logic would have to be true, like prior to its
Yeah.
existence.
So then that would actually like show you that any logical framework or any reasonable framework using reason would actually presuppose God. Therefore, any line of thinking, wrong or right, with any line of like thing actually proves the existence of God because it's based within the reason that is within God's nature. But that's something like C.S. Lewis would argue.
Well, I think I'm gonna get back to like reading my book here.
You're good, man. I just thought I'd jump up because he was nonsense talking like that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, thanks.
All right, you have a good one.
So I'm reading The Ethics of Freedom. It's about like Christian, how to be a Christian, like practically in the world today. And gosh, this is difficult because he's talking about shmuicide. How do you? What's the TikTok word for that? Shmuicide. Uh, we're talking about liberation from the self. Let's see here. Maybe let's just put this through ChatGPT. Get caught up. I heard Elon got kicked out of the White House. Like a bunch of people hate Elon, apparently. This passage is about the freedom from fear, anxiety, and self-centeredness, as taught in the Bible. So the Bible encourages people not to worry or be afraid. Jesus tells us in his teachings, like the Sermon on the Mount, where he says, "Do not worry about your life." This isn't just advice; it's a command. But it's not a heavy rule meant to burden us. Instead, it's meant to free us from the stress of constantly worrying about our future or our worth. The command to not be anxious is rooted in the idea that God is in control and provides for us. By trusting Him, we can let go of fear and live with peace and joy. Unfortunately, the church has sometimes used fear to control people, which goes against this message of freedom Jesus brings. The true goal of faith is to liberate people, not to make them more anxious or burdened. So there's a despair that can lead to thoughts of shmuicide. It says that arguing about whether it's right or wrong isn't helpful when someone is in such deep pain. What really matters is showing that there's hope, that a person can be free from the overwhelming weight of their struggles. This hope and freedom come from God, who lifts the burden of self-centered worry and despair. This is about living freely without being trapped by fear or anxiety, because God offers hope and peace. It's not about following rigid rules, but about experiencing the freedom that comes from trusting God and being freed from the constant pressure of worrying about yourself. Where did I? Um, mm, where did I write that? So I'm looking through my notes. Um, oh, okay, yeah, I found it. Um, all right. Welcome.
Oh,
Welcome.
so, uh, since Christianity is objectively proven, can you reference the proof?
Sure, like the fact that we're having like an intelligible experience. If we could work backwards as to like what's necessary for that to be the case, like the claims of the Bible are going to be necessary.
Okay. So what are your sources? What are the sources of this objective proof?
I don't know what you mean by sources. Like
Well,
where
if
did
something
you
is to be
argue?
objectively proven, it needs to have sources, right?
Well, the fact that we're having an intelligible experience. Yeah, right.
Okay, what do you think objectively proven means?
Stance independent evidence.
Once again, sorry.
Evidence that's stance independent.
Okay, who decides if this evidence stands independent?
You'd have to follow like a inference rule of logic, or like some inductive, deductive, be like valid and sound.
Okay, so then somebody gathered up the evidence, right? And probably wrote it down, and we can read it somewhere, correct? In some
Well,
scientific paper, some theological paper.
Well, yeah, the argument. Yeah, there's a book called The Objective Proof for Christianity that goes over the argument.
Okay, what does this book use as sources?
Like PhD philosopher Greg Bonson, who was a student of Cornelius Van Til. The argument comes from Van Til, who was a philosopher. I think he got a PhD at Princeton. I think Bonson
Okay,
got a PhD at USC. So
so there is a group of PhD having theologists who agree that Christianity is factually correct, that it is the one and true religion.
uh, well, they came up with an argument, right? So it's a transcendental argument. It's just the objective
I mean,
proof.
there is one thing to come up with an argument why it may be like true and like why it makes sense like from philosophical and theological perspective, but there is completely different to say like, yep, we have proof like Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, Judaism, all of those can try, but like they don't have the objective arguments like Christianity does. Here they are.
Yeah, but if my argument is true, like the premises are true, then the conclusion necessarily follows. So if it's true, then it's necessarily true. It's like 100% true. So like
Okay, but like let's just be clear. Like there is not a group of PhD theologists who say Christianity is objectively true.
I just told you the source of the argument.
I mean, you said that they are cited in a source in a like popular book that goes into the subject. I'm asking if they are genuinely saying this.
I've read their stuff.
Okay, that's interesting. Did not know that. I will believe you on that. Okay. So what are the arguments?
I mean, a real simple way to think about it is like, if knowledge, then God. We have knowledge, therefore God. Because you can't
No.
deny that we have knowledge. What?
Okay.
Yeah. So like knowledge requires like inductive reasoning. Only Christians have epistemic justification for inductive reasoning through God's revelation. Therefore, God's revelation is necessary for knowledge. So
Wait, why is God's why is uh, God's revelation required for inductive reasoning?
because inductive reasoning presupposes the proposition that the future will resemble the past. Like when I drop a pen, it's going to fall because in the past it fell. So that
Okay.
called the that proposition needs to be justified, but we can't justify it because we never observe the future. And so we need God who like can secure that in the future that nature will behave in like a regular way. That's what we have in Christianity. So we have a good reason to think
What?
that the inductive principle is true, whereas like any non-Christian would not.
What do you mean by that?
Well, like when you brush your teeth, you squeeze the toothpaste under the toothbrush. You believe the future will resemble the past, but you don't have justification for that belief unless you're a Christian.
Okay, so
Well, if you can't justify the inductive reasoning, then you can't have knowledge. So
okay, I'm sorry, but that makes no sense. Can you please like try to explain it to me?
okay, so inductive reasoning is a precondition for knowledge. If you don't have inductive reasoning, then there's no knowledge. Does that make sense?
Let's suppose so.
So there's a big problem, like humans can't rationally justify inductive reasoning and they can't empirically justify inductive reasoning. And so we need God to reveal knowledge to us that inductive reasoning is true to save knowledge. So God's
That
necessary for
makes
knowledge. What?
that makes literally no sense. Like, why would I need God to be the like guarantee of inductive reasoning?
Because otherwise you would have no epistemic justification for inductive reasoning, and then like any scientific claim would have no warrant because science relies on inductive reasoning. So that would
No,
invalidate science.
it would have plenty of warrant. You
Well,
just rely on Occam's razor.
you're just ignoring. No, that doesn't do anything. You're ignoring what I'm saying. Science relies on inductive reasoning. If it's not justified, then nothing science claims is justified. That's a big problem. So to solve the
It's not.
problem, we just believe Jesus is who he says he is. And now science works. Problem solved.
But it's not a problem that the inductive reasoning can be wrong. That's
Well,
not a problem.
you're
You
just
do not
ignoring
understand
what that's
science.
not
That's not how science works.
it's not about inductive reasoning being wrong or right. It's about it's not about a specific inductive claim being right or wrong. It's about inductive reasoning in general, universally being true. It has to universally be true in principle, not a specific claim, right? So in principle, it has to be true, and the only way we can know that is if Christianity is true. So if you deny Christianity, you're denying reason itself. Oops.
That's that's just not true. And like, why would
Oh,
Christianity
it's
be
not
the
true because
only
you said it's
religion
not
to
true? Why
guarantee
isn't it
that?
true? Because you said so? Because what you say is true, and you said it's not true, so it's not true. Is that why it's not true? What's the evidence?
No, I'm just
Oh, you
saying
said it's
that
not true, so it's not true. Why is it not true?
it's not true because I don't need a guarantee that inductive reasoning to work to
And you're
build
just
science.
ignoring.
Science is built on.
It's not true, Darth. It's not true. It's just not true.
Every day they prove what Romans 1 says. Every day.
I mean, I was really patient with them because it seemed like
Their foolish hearts were darkened.
seemed like he's not a native
repent.
English speaker. So I was trying to be like really simple.
No, but he sounds like he's German or from the Netherlands, and their acquisition of English is second to none.
Just ignore what I say. Ignore what I say.
Well, that's one of the strategies that they pull from the American atheist canvas tote bag of diversion.
They I don't know. I don't know if they understand the difference between a black swan fallacy and the problem of induction. I'm not talking about a specific instance where like induction is incorrect. I'm talking about universally, like I mean, the black swan would be an instance of the problem of induction just simply because the inductive problem is universal to all inductive. But the only black swan is different. But they don't. It's really frustrating. They always like think I'm talking about black swan because that became popular recently, I guess. The black swan fallacy because of flat Earth. So they have no idea about the problem of induction. They think it's a black swan fallacy. It's the same thing. They're not the same thing. The black swan fallacy is when you treat induction like it's a deductive conclusion, like a necessary conclusion. But induction is a probabilistic conclusion. So that's the black swan fallacy, where the problem of induction has to do with the uniform nature.
If you read even a basic textbook on logic, I'm thinking of the book by Copy. He points out that you must accept that it is the case of the uniformity of nature. Otherwise, inductive reasoning is a disaster.
I hit him with Bonson's toothpaste proof of God. Remember that one?
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it's good to like make it at an everyday level to show, how you're always doing this.
Well, they expect the toothpaste to come out because there's a prior succession of it coming out every time, and they expect to come out again because they believe there's an underlying regularity of things. Okay? That there's something imposing these regularities, as opposed to that these regularities are the illusion that something's imposing it.
Yeah, they already act in a reason like God exists, so they might as well just like get on board, like stop being inauthentic.
Well, when we push the antithesis, we have to recapitulate the Christian worldview, dumb it down, make it clear to them. And the moment they don't accept it, they're making a counterclaim. And we have to show them that the counterclaim is indefensible and not coherent upon a walkthrough.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? The very criterion that they use to dismiss the God world, they instantly violate when they're operating from a worldview which is its negation. And when you point out to them that they're instantly violating their own criterion, they don't care. Because they don't want there to be a God. That's their underlying motivation, because they don't want there to be a God. Their minds are going to be drawn magnetically toward slogans and catchphrases that seemingly provide a philosophical defense when it doesn't. They're vacuous.
Yeah, they're effectively doing like a flat earther will interpret all evidence as being for like a flat Earth, and they're just doing that as
Guy
bait.
goes, guy goes earlier to someone. He goes, "You can't quote the Bible to defend the Bible." Say, "Oh, so you can't use a proposition within a model of reality to instantiate that worldview?" Well, then therefore, then you can't instantiate any worldview. And if you can't instantiate a worldview, then you have no viable propositions. See, they say the stupidest crap.
I was watching one of the dumbest TikToks where the theist was making this horrible argument. He's like, I can objectively prove God with consciousness or something like that. And then the guy goes, well, is consciousness subjective? And he goes, yeah. And the guy goes, well, how do you prove something objectively with a subjective consciousness? and, and then later he was saying that consciousness was just chemical reactions. And I'm like, wait a second. You agreed consciousness was subjective, and now you're saying something objective accounts for something
Well,
subjective?
when you appeal to determinism, you're destroying your ability to reason.
Yeah. They literally have all the worst positions. They're like hard determinists. Oh, that makes no sense.
They don't understand that they're either going to have you're going to have ultimate intentionality and design, God, or necessity or chance. If you opt for necessity or chance, either option destroys any viability of human reason. And they know that this is true. They just don't care. That's why it's so difficult to reason with them.
I mean, even it's like Oppie, it's like my mind is spinning over the things he was saying about like,
Remember, he's the creme de la creme.
yeah, because he was saying, yeah, it just blows my mind what he was saying. Anyways,
Okay, how is God a fable?
Well, I would argue he's a fable, just like the Greek or Roman gods.
That's not a justification that the
For
existence of
instance, would you
God.
say that they are like fables or mythology?
Well, asking me what I believe does not support your claim that the idea that there is a creator is a fable. So, telling me that it's like that, so what? It doesn't entail that it's a fable.
Give
So
me
how is
one second.
okay. You see, they're not accustomed to exposing themselves to robust opposition, and so they think that their reasoning has some substance to it, and it doesn't.
Oh my God, Darth! In my video feed right now, Myth Vision podcast. Remember the Billy Carson debacle with Wes Huff?
Yeah,
He has Josh Bowen on there, and they're trying to
yeah.
defend Billy Carson and saying Billy Carson was correct.
Oh my
Okay,
God,
I'm back now.
that's pretty sad. They're defending Billy Carson. Okay, so when you say God, are you saying God's a fable because all of the minds in the past who invoked that used
No, I'm
incorrect
saying he's a
reasoning?
fable. I'm saying he's a fable, just like how there's no evidence for this god, just like there's no evidence for Zeus. If there's
Oh,
no evidence
okay.
for
All
either, I'm
right.
not
So
gonna
now
call
we're
them both
getting some.
fable.
Okay, so now you're getting somewhere. So when you say there's no evidence for that, are you asserting that the world is to be classified as independent from God or indeterminate?
Well, you see, here's the thing: the world can be
If
explained
you dodge
naturally
my
without a
question
god.
again, sir, listen to me
It's not
carefully.
dodging a question; I'm answering
Sir,
it.
listen to me. I'm an experienced debater of 14 years.
I have talked to you
We could
before. You are
good.
pretty condescending.
I'm about to kick you. Okay. Now I asked you a question, and right out of the gate, you were not answering the question.
Well, no,
When
I
you say
explained
God,
it.
okay, sir, cross talk me again. See what happens. Now, when you say there's no evidence for God, are you saying that the phrase "no evidence for God" entails that the world is to be reckoned as independent from God, therefore no God, or that the world is indeterminate, therefore no God?
I'm not really sure what either of those means, either of those
When you
specific
say there's no
words,
evidence for
but
God,
whenever
okay, sir, when you say there's no evidence for God, does that mean the world is indeterminate with respect to its causal origin? Or is it that
I don't
when
know
you
what you
say
mean by indeterminate.
you don't know what the word, okay, so if I asked you how much money is in your pocket, and you would say, I don't know, I haven't determined how much money. So it's indeterminate as to how much money is in your pocket.
Yeah, I don't think that's an allegory to the God
Yeah,
in the
dude,
world.
this is really getting sad. You're not going to last much longer. I'll ask you again. When you say there's
Man,
no
I would
evidence,
love to talk to you in
goodbye,
person. I bet you wouldn't be so
goodbye,
kind.
goodbye. You know, you try to work with these people, and they just remain stuck on stupid. Okay, they're in this death spiral. You know, like jumping off of a cliff. No, you're not coming up again. I tried to cooperate with you, and you decided you just want to. Oh, I don't know what you mean. Oh, God, I don't know what you mean by that. But you figured out that there's no God. You're a super genius. You figured out there is no God. But when I ask you simple concepts, when you say there's no evidence for God, does that mean the world is indeterminate, or that the world is independent from God? Oh, I don't know what you mean. Yeah, but you figured out there's no God, right? You figured out the single most important question in human existence, right? You're so smart, you figure that out, but you can't understand my simple questions. No, sir, you're not coming back up. I gave you multiple chances, and you were purposely being uncooperative. I don't know what you mean by indeterminate.
Are you talking about this godless person?
Yeah, if you keep on sending up
Did you
invite requests, you're going to
did
get
you talk to
blocked.
this godless person, or do you not want them up?
I don't. I'm not familiar with them.
Okay.
Hey guys, how are you?
Welcome. Are you an atheist?
I am an atheist, yeah.
Good. Can you tell me why God doesn't exist?
Well, I actually just wanted to respond to a prompt here, and I was
And
curious.
I'm actually going to kick your sorry little ass out of here if you're rude to me again. I asked you a question.
I'm sorry,
So you're gonna stop being rude?
repeat the question, please.
Yeah. Please tell me why there's no God.
I do not believe, I have not seen proof of God. That's it.
Okay. Well,
That's why I don't believe in God.
here's the problem. What you're now doing is what 98% of all atheists do. You're shape shifting from denying God's existence to your position is that you're just unconvinced. But it says here in your profile, God isn't real. Your God isn't real. Okay? Now, is it your position that no creator exists? Or is it your position that you're neutral and haven't made a judgment either way.
With regard to a personal God, I believe God does not.
That's not a question that I asked you. Do you believe that there's a creator? When we talk about a creator,
No, I do not.
Okay, good. So, what is your justification that there is no creator? And telling me you're unconvinced isn't going to cut the mustard, because that's a dodge.
That's the answer.
Okay, well, that's what, see, you're saying what most atheists say, okay? It doesn't follow, because of your mental state of being unconvinced, that God doesn't exist, does it?
I would agree that not necessarily. Yes.
Okay, so telling me you're unconvinced, first and foremost, is uninformative as to whether you're denying God or you're merely claiming that you're neutral about God's existence, okay? Number two, it doesn't follow from you stating that you're unconvinced that God doesn't exist. So,
Fair.
is it your position that God does not exist, or are you claiming that you're neutral?
I suppose neutral is the correct answer.
You're neutral toward the existence of God?
Yes.
So you've self-identified with the only English word in the Western civilization that denotes the denial of God. You've self-identified with that word that denotes making a judgment about God, but you're claiming you're not making a judgment about God, but you're choosing the only word in the English language that refers to those who make a judgment that God does not exist.
I lived life as a Christian, and
I didn't ask you. I didn't ask
the
you
more
about your
that I
bio.
studied, the
I'm
less that
about
I
to
knew.
kick you. I'm about to kick you for being rude. I asked you a direct question. All of a sudden, you start telling me about your biography.
Is this your live?
Goodbye. Goodbye. Bye bye. Bye bye. They self-identify as the word atheist, the only word in the English language designated to denote the non-existence of God. But they want to say, I'm a self-identified atheist, but I'm neutral. Unbelievable. Yeah, another stupid teenage remark. Okay. Yeah. Hey, Rip Torn, you don't want to bring up the idea of unfalsifiability in God. It'll backfire on you. But I'm going to invite you up here so you can defend your claim about the issue of God, the unfalsifiability of God. Come on up.
It's always the same. Like, oh, there doesn't
They
need to
don't.
be.
They don't understand how introducing the falsifiability criterion backfires on them. No, French potato. People do not get kicked because they don't say the right thing. They get kicked because they are blatantly being deceptive, evasive, or disruptive.
Part of the reason falsification was created was as an answer to the problem of induction, which is kind of funny, right? Which they have
Well,
no clue
they don't
about.
understand. They
Yeah.
don't understand that the unfalsifiability of God is a massive virtue, not a vice. Okay,
And then
if you champion the falsification principle for everything, then you have now destroyed the possibility of falsification,
because
because there will not be any ultimate truth by which you can resort to falsify any proposition. So the falsification criterion is a performative contradiction.
Imre Lakatos, he didn't think falsification criteria was good. He thought we should it should be based on like sciences. We should favor theories that make novel predictions as opposed to theories that have to like create ad hoc rescue hypothesis when observable data goes against the theory.
Yeah, but making a novel prediction is not a guarantee that the theory is correct.
I agree, but these are just their desperate attempts,
Yeah.
you know. But so like,
Yeah, I know.
what is
Desperate isn't. You aren't kidding.
what is what is what does modern science do? Do they favor the novel prediction thing, or do they do the falsification? Or modern science, do they do
No, there is.
falsification?
Well,
Is it a
contrary to what you'll
combination?
hear from atheists, is there is no uniform and universally agreed upon definition of science.
Yeah, I know there's like
Okay.
million scientific methods.
Yeah,
People think
yeah.
there's one method, but there's
You
actually
might have some factions that champion, the Popperian falsification criterion. Others will, that there's a variety of different views. It's not
yeah,
that cut and dry.
yeah. That's the problem with the secular philosophies. They have no standards, so it's everyone's just arbitrarily. Well, I like this standard. Well, I prefer this standard. That's why I guess Oppie thinks he can just go. I can justify atheism by
Yeah,
preference.
Oppie was just bloviating.
It's just so weird that they I guess they just literally it's like they just don't care about metaphysics at all. Like it's just not a thing to them. Like it's like a joke or
I
something.
didn't even remember um, what you played for me, and what I heard was just I was dumbfounded at how stupid what I heard him say. And I
Yeah.
and I by that I don't mean that he's a stupid person. By that I do not mean that I think I'm smarter than him. I'm just saying the content of what he said was really dumb.
Yeah.
It's what you would expect from just a bloviating, philosophy professor.
Has he written
Hey
books?
guys, how you doing?
Hey Deke. Does
Yeah, having a
Oppie
good day.
Yeah, I'm having a good day. Has Oppie published on atheism, do you know, Dark? A
Oh,
book?
he's written a number of books on atheism.
And that's his oh my
If you
god.
if you if you go into the atheist folder in the Christmas present,
Mm,
um, in that folder there'll be a number of books either in that folder or in a subfolder by Oppie.
mm, okay.
Hey
What
man, I'd like to know how Christianity is objectively proven.
the
Okay,
There's
transcendental
no.
argument for God.
yeah, the propositional content of the Christian worldview that presents itself as revelation of God is such that God's character set is perfect in all respects, and that all reason, truth, and intelligibility, and in actuality, could not be accounted for or spoken of intelligibly were God not the single causal, self-revealing first principle for everything. So
And what's the source?
it's a performative transcendental argument, which means it's a transcendental argument that if you attempt to deny it, that then the rationale would have to be true even for you to attempt to deny it.
Well, that doesn't make sense.
Sure it does. Okay, so a transcendental argument is that we take a fact that's in dispute, and one party shows the other party that the fact in dispute will be an absolute necessary precondition for an agreed upon fact. And that were the fact in question in dispute not true, then the fact that was agreed upon also could not be true. Okay,
Well,
that's called a transcendental argument.
but
A performative transcendental argument comes in is that it's constructed in a way that any attempt to deny the transcendental argument will end in incoherence or contradiction, because the fact in question would be a necessary precondition for even any attempt to deny the disputed state of affairs in question.
it's a
So
flawed analogy, man, because
I didn't
neither
give you an
side, whether you
I didn't
believe
give
it.
you an analogy.
Okay, can you let me like get an idea out, or is this all about you?
No, I don't like people wasting my time. I didn't give you an analogy. I explained to you, okay, in basic terms, what a transcendental argument is. Okay,
Okay, well
so either so well, here's
let
the
me rebuke
situation.
that.
Okay, so in order to refute it, your model of reality has to be identified, defended, and show us how you have the ability to affirm and deny things.
No, so here's the claim I'm gonna make.
Yeah, this is going right over your head. Okay, are you denying the Christian worldview? Yes or no?
Can I get an idea out before we move on?
Sir, if you're not going to cooperate, are you denying and refuting the Christian worldview?
I do not believe in God. I'm an atheist.
Okay. Sir, is English your first language?
It is.
Good. Are you denying the Christian worldview?
I do not believe in God.
Okay. Have a nice day, sir. Bye-bye.
Well, hold on.
Bye.
Hold on, man. Oh, wait, what just happened?
Sometimes he kicks himself.
No, that's because I think I'm touching their square and I'm touching my square.
It's part of the routine. It's just he does it to make you guys laugh.
Notice how
retard.
blatantly
This guy's a retard. Everybody should leave the live. This guy's a.
Wait, you can't say those words. I have to kick him.
Well, his account was blocked anyway. Okay. He has a previous history of trolling. So the previous guy was just blatantly and persistently ignoring what I was saying to him. Yeah, you're not coming back up, sir. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. You see, one of their strategies is to be utterly and completely uncooperative. Another one of their strategies is to ignore what's being presented to them.
They always ignore it, like never respond to pre-sub. I heard Danny talking to some guy. Man, he is a sophist and a half. Holy crap!
Well, I feel sorry for him.
He's not a PhD, is he?
No, absolutely not.
This
He's a
guy's from-
sidekick. He's a sidekick of Jack Engstrike.
Yeah, I think he might have like a bachelor's in philosophy, but not like a PhD.
He's look. You got to feel sorry for him. At least he saves money because he shops in the boys department. He's very similar to Destiny. By the way, I just saw another clip of Destiny, and I couldn't believe what a mental case and a train wreck he was in the debate. And I'm not just talking about just disagreeing with the content. He was a train wreck.
Is it a recent clip? Because
I don't know. I didn't mark it.
He's been getting more like
He totally mentally unhinged.
Yeah, he's been getting worse since Trump lost the election. He's been losing his mind. Like even more than normal, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Obviously he was unhinged always, but you know, someone has a baseline and then he's going, yeah. Well, I guess if we're waiting, I can play like some clips of that conversation I was telling you about.
Yeah, if you want, I'm just backing up some of my books.
Okay.
However, and right now I want to explore.
It's very weak. I can't hear it.
Yeah, I'm getting it set up.
Theistic apologetics, which might pose some challenges, and I'm interested at how you are going to respond to them. So
he's saying I'm interested in how you respond to pre-sub. He's saying
one somewhat popular argumentation that is becoming somewhat popular on internet and on some Discord debates is
in Soviet Russia presupposition
in Soviet Russia.
I don't know whether you are acquainted with this a form of transcendental argument, which says that, well, actually theism has a better explanatory depth when it comes to accounting for the transcendentals. That is the set of principles that work as preconditions of knowledge. So the transcendental argument, as I understand it, goes on to suggest that, well, we have all those presuppositions that are necessary for intelligibility, such as, space, time, number system, laws of logic, properly basic beliefs. And, naturalism is sterile when it comes to justifying or accounting for the unity of those transcendentals or preconditions of knowledge, whereas theism wins because it can account for the universality and validity of those transcendentals by pointing to the idea that God is who officiates the validity and universality of those transcendentals. I think that is the summary of this school of apologetics. And what is your reaction to it? Have you ever encountered this presuppositionalism? Are you aware of it?
I'm not really.
Yeah, so his presentation wasn't the best, but he's a Russian atheist, so
Familiar with it, but I don't see how you're going to get more theoretical unity out of making an extra assumption, the assumption that there's God. There's going in your theory, there's going to be a whole. So let's start with the naturalist. Perhaps the naturalist has to postulate some primitives here. So maybe, for example, it's a primitive in the theory that there's a spatiotemporal universe. So you've got space and time as primitive
Books on the shelf.
In the
You heard what he said?
Formulation of
He's talking about you just have these primitives. Space and time are primitives.
The claim that there's this spatiotemporal universe. And then it may be that you've got theory about space and some theory about time, and we can imagine that you can axiomatize your theory of space, but that there'll be some bunch of principles about space, and there'll be
He's just talking about you can have a theory about space and a theory about time, but it's like, yeah, but how do you justify that theory, right?
Yeah.
Bunch of principles about time, from which all of your knowledge about space or all your knowledge about time can be recovered. Now let's suppose we go to the theists. Are they going to be able to compress those theories of space and time? I don't see how. The best that they'll be able to do is to say God wanted these principles to apply or something like that. You can't unify the principle further without actually just being able to move to an axiom set than the one that the naturalist has already got. So I'm just completely sceptical that there's any affordance of unity that you can get out of.
Did he say unity?
I'm skeptical of any forms of unity you can get out of positing there's a God, I think he said. Yeah.
You're skeptical of that. Well, what does that mean? You see, that's just bullshit lingo, okay?
Mm-hmm.
When you say you're skeptical, this is a de facto denial without being upfront about it. Mm-hmm. He's pulling Captain Incredulity here. Oh, I'm just unconvinced about positing that God is the ground of unity. No, you deny it. You don't accept it, then you deny it.
Mm-hmm.
See, notice how even the creme de la creme is pulling the incredulity card. Oh, I'm skeptical. Notice he doesn't want to come out and outright deny it.
There's all these properties that you're going to be assigning to God that the naturalist juxtaposes aren't instantiated. Does that make sense?
So I think that from what I listened, what they're trying to establish is that that they have a form of justification for the universal validity of the preconditions of knowledge. So they would ask a question like, well, how do you know that the principle of identity or non-contradiction hold in all places and in all times? You can't know that because you do not have access to the, you don't believe in God. And, for example, God would necessitate or would account for the universal validity of laws of logic and of the other transcendentals that are necessary for us to be for the world, for us to be intelligible. So, what would be your response to that?
So it's an interesting question, isn't it? Amongst logicians, there are paraconsistentists who deny that there's a law of non-contradiction. They accept that there's a range of cases in which contradiction should be rejected, but they also think there are cases where there are true contradictions and you should tolerate them. And although this is less common, there are people who think that
is that me, that audio?
You could reject the law of identity as well. Again, just like with contradictions, for the most part, violations of the law are a bad thing, of the alleged law are a bad thing, but there are cases where you should just tolerate those that are acceptable.
Yeah, so he's just talking about like paraconsistent logic.
The law of identity. Now, what to say about this, right? If the paraconsistentists are right, then there is no such thing as a universal law of non-contradiction.
Okay.
And likewise, if a tiny number of people who think that there's no universal law of identity, the same thing is going to apply. What I think...
He's just saying, like, well, someone could just think there's no law of identity, or someone could just think there's no law of non-contradiction. Like, what is that? It seems so goofy.
Like, all they wanted, you'll notice that he's always just responding professorial. Mm-hmm. Oh, some people believe this, some people believe that. Yes. This is not a college classroom here where you're talking about, we have this category. Why don't you just tell us what your position is, Graham?
Yeah, I don't think he does the entire time, really.
We do. With these cases is they're part of the theory and we assess them in the same way as everything else. We see what you need in order to make best theory that explains all the data, minimising your...
See, he's not talking where your average person can understand him. It's like he's talking to his college students.
Yeah, he's
saying... where he just
we have all these views, and they're like hypothesis, and then we go like, well, which hypothesis best explains the data? But how does naturalism, that's what we're saying, like, how do you explain universals, like a universal law of non-contradiction or identity? Like,
you see, he's in a position where he doesn't want to come out and really be dogmatic.
Not really answering. I asked him about how do you get a universal?
He has a reputation to hold up, and he doesn't want to be held accountable.
He's not answering. The guy asked him, how do you get a universal law of non-contradiction? He goes, oh, well, some people, maybe you're a dialetheist.
Look, I'm not trying to be mean. He's very smart, very intelligent. I'm sure he's a very good professor of philosophy. But he's not addressing the issue. He's not being informative.
He's not. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Like, the whole interview. The audio is actually really terrible. Maybe I'll stop playing it. The audio is kind of goofy. But it wasn't any much better when he's like talking to you.
So. Yep.
I thought that was so funny how he said, "Oh, it's just assumes less things. Naturalism just assumes less things. Therefore, I prefer it."
Yeah, I'm skeptical that God is the ground of unity. What does it mean? I'm skeptical. Does that mean you deny it?
Yeah.
Are you neutral toward it? Are you just unconvinced?
That's like saying, that's basically like the cliche atheist thing when they go like, I'm not convinced by the evidence. But that's again when they're smuggling in atheism when they do that.
Yeah. So when you say you're skeptical, this is a kind of rhetorical way of denying something, but without being transparent that you're denying it. Mm-hmm. Look, if I tell you, Darth, you've read a little bit about the Kennedy assassination. Do you think that there was Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone, or was there more than one government or conspiracy? And rather than be transparent, I'm skeptical that there was more than one gunman.
No, my real position is I don't believe there was another government. I believe wholeheartedly Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. Okay? It's not that I'm merely unconvinced that there was a conspiracy. Now, these files that might come out might surprise me. But I expect that there's not going to be anything that's going to change the same basic facts that we've known for a long time. This is weird. What is going on here?
Darth Dawkins versus Lance Bush.
Who?
Lance Bush, PhD grad student.
I don't know what they're referring to.
What's going on, everybody? I just wanted to.
Well, let's get some educated. Let's see what Darth versus a PhD grad student. Let's see how that goes.
Hey, YouTube out there. Tom Rabbit likes to record these.
Hey, hey, YouTube. Hey, YouTube.
Well, Lance here studies more.
Someone's requesting. Oh, it's yes. We talked to this person, I think, yesterday.
Moral psychology. He's a moral anti-realist.
Yo, what's up?
Hi. Yes, that's correct.
Christianity is not objectively proven. Atheism is the absence of belief. The Bible explicitly talks about slavery in ancient Israel existing. Abortion is not child sacrifice, and science is not a theistic concept. It's called empiricism.
How old are you, Yes?
27.
Okay. Let's go with atheism first.
Yeah, okay.
Would you defend your position?
Yeah, that atheism is simply the absence of a belief. It's theism is the idea of holding a religious belief, right? And is
okay. So when you tell me it's an absence of belief, you do realize that at best that's non-informative, because saying you have an absence of belief can include under an umbrella category both the denial and the claim to suspend judgment, right?
It's not a denial of anything. It's just the absence of belief.
Listen, sir, listen to me. I know you think you're smart at 27 years old.
Go fuck yourself. Listen to me. Atheism is not irrational. Atheism is the absence of a belief.
Listen. I'm going to give you. If you
Prove
apologize,
that God is real. Prove that God is real. Prove that God is real.
Dude, I don't want to have to block you.
Irrational.
Okay, you're okay. You see,
prove that God is real, and then atheism will be irrational.
Bye.
Yeah, all they can do is these.
Look. He comes on here. He's like he's the big man on campus. 27 years old. Oh, he's so smart, right? And I pointed out to them, defining it as a lack of belief is not clear, because lack of belief can include those who deny God and those who claim they don't deny God but suspend judgment. So which does it mean? Right? You know what? It didn't take very long, seconds, mind you, not minutes, for this guy to show his true colors. They're arrogant, they're nasty, they're vile, they're obscene.
So you got theism, right? And then you put an A in front of it, Darth, and that's atheism. Therefore, atheism.
27 years old, and he's completely illiterate when it comes to the definition of atheism, okay? Defining atheism as a lack of belief, okay, is at best utterly ambiguous, okay?
Blame Matthew Humphrey for their ignorance. Who's probably that crap?
Well, look, this is the problem. They don't expose themselves to routine, robust opposition. And so they think that when they're dealing with low-hanging fruit, that they have a greater intellectual and philosophical prowess that they have. They don't have it. So, I mean, atheism is like, look, why would a normal mind, somebody who has a normal mind, self-identify by the only English word in the entire Western civilization that designates those who deny God, and then you identify that word by that word, which is used to deny God, but then to redefine it to that you're in a mental state of you're undecided. Okay? Tiny, if you want to discuss P1 of the tag, come on up. Come on up, Tiny.
Tiny's just a comedian. So I think he left too. Oh, he's not still there. Why can't I invite him? He must be banned because I can't invite him.
Oh, look at that. I just noticed I have his account from being previously blocked. Gee, what a coincidence.
Yeah, he's a comedian. He's not really like a serious debater.
I don't know of any serious-minded atheists on TikTok, do you?
They really aren't. Some of them try to be serious, but they're goofy.
No, they're not. They're not.
They just like read the Bible and they only read like the parts they think make God look bad. That's all they do.
They really don't have a clue how stupid their analysis is. They just don't realize it.
It's crazy bad.
Your God is unjust. He's immoral. Okay, by what standard?
So, are you an atheist, Lance?
Yeah.
Okay, do you use the standard definition of atheism that there are no gods?
I mean, that's my position that there are no gods, but I don't.
Okay, so the answer is yes. You use the standard definition. Can you tell me why there is no supreme being, creator God?
Oh, I wanted to talk about ethics. That's not really what I want to talk about.
Okay, well, the topic of the room is what?
But he's a moral.
Are you an atheist? Okay, so if you're going to talk about ethics, are your ethics grounded in anything that is absolute and ultimate like God or not?
No.
Okay, so your ethics have no ultimate reference point or grounding, do they?
Yeah, I guess that would be correct.
Okay, so then your ethics are just whatever spontaneously pops into your head. So why should we care about what spontaneously pops into your head?
Oh, I don't know that people should care about what spontaneously pops into my head.
Okay, well, then it's just a matter of just somebody burping or belching or farting. These are all spontaneous things.
You like that?
I suppose so.
Mars?
Yeah.
Was that you laughing?
Yeah, I might have to, I was thinking maybe I should be careful about playing these. I might, you might be saying something. Maybe I should actually review these before we play them.
Well, there's nothing that violates TikTok's terms on that.
No, not on that, but I think there could be in future, you know.
All right, well, let's see if we have a mature-minded unbeliever here. Welcome, Ray. Do you accept God as your creator?
I do. If you do not accept Jesus, you can burn like the Jews.
All right, let's get rid of him.
Get rid of me. Why?
Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Man-made God. Oh, this is the first guy did this whole like, oh, the Bible came from
a troll. Look, 0 followers.
The smallest dogs bark the loudest, and you guys are small as fuck.
Yeah.
You guys can both.
The guy that started this morning, he came in, the first guy, he's like, oh, Yahweh comes from a Canaanite family of gods.
Oh, yeah.
Like, yeah, but that's the genetic fallacy. Like, even if that's true, it doesn't even matter. You like judge a claim on its merit, on its origin, and then he just keeps repeating it. Like, that's a fallacy. Do you not? Hello?
Well, they haven't actually studied this. They're just repeating what some religious investigators have theorized.
Welcome, Jay. It's not even like a defeater. Like, it could be the case that I think what happened was religion came from the Garden of Eden, and then it got like sort of obscured or something or confused. All the early religions.
Isn't it interesting that the Bible talks about the lie in Romans 1, and it talks about the lie in 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, and the lie had its origin in the Garden of Eden. Well, what was in the Garden of Eden? Well, where there was the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and there was another tree that was there. Do you recall that?
Tree of life.
Yeah, it's the tree of life. Now, isn't it coincidental that Darwin came up with an atheistic, materialistic, naturalistic explanation to kill off God, right? And Darwin's theory of evolution is depicted as, are you ready? The tree of life. What a coincidence that the Darwinian explanation that removes God from the sphere of rational discussion is called the tree of life. You think that was just a coincidence?
No, that's interesting. Never thought about that.
Yeah, that's not a coincidence.
Oh, that guy left.
Well, Darwin decided he wanted to replace God as the foundation of the tree of life with another tree of life in order to kill off God. Okay, so evolution is this tree of life. Remember, Darwin said to Asa Gray, evolution or natural selection is my God.
The Jews call it was the Sephiroth. Have you heard of that? Is it the Jewish tree of life? It was like mysticism. Kabbalah. What is Kabbalah? You know much about Kabbalah? I suppose you probably don't.
It's a mixture of concepts in Judaism and the occult.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Darwin's intent through his theory of evolution to champion naturalism and atheistic materialism. But he wasn't upfront about it, because had he done so, then he would not have gained the notoriety or the popularity or the acceptance for his theory if he had.
Yeah, that tiny science guy is goofy. He gets a bunch of viewers though for some reason.
We have a lot of people, a lot of stupid. And I don't say this merely because they disagree, right? But we have a lot of stupid people on TikTok.
One thing about when you learn precept, it like really sharpens your debate skills because you learn about all this like meta level things. Like
you really have to practice critical thinking skills.
it can apply to almost like all other things you debate. Because a lot of times when we debate, we are debating like these background like beliefs, foundational beliefs that influence how we view the world.
All right, listen, I'm just going to go into radio silence. I'm just going to be listening, okay?
Yeah. Actually, I think I might just I'm getting kind of hungry, so I might just shut her down. I think I should review some of these videos so they're safe to play on air, and then that'd be fun to like. I like getting Darth's commentary on these debates he does. That's it, because it's interesting. And I'm sure it's probably good for Darth too to kind of review his own debates.
I'm working on some stuff now. I have a situation where I'm thinking about setting up a
we got guest reports,
like a little studio where I can set up with my computer and an in-home studio where I have my computer, my tablet, and my phone, and then I can sit down and regularly do these analysis of these videos. Since the atheists are so chicken to come in, then we can do the next thing and just critique. There's so many videos, and we just tear them to shreds.
Yeah, exactly.
The biblical God.
Welcome, Godsmack.
Attitude conclusion by what standard? Because I've read the Bible.
Hello? Why are you playing Justin? You can hear Justin.
You read the Bible. Congrats.
Yeah, if you're gonna get blocked if you don't stop.
Because you said so.
I'm trying to figure out how to do it.
What are you trying to figure out how to do? You're like,
I haven't done this.
all right, well, you got back. We can hear some other stream in the background, so you got to figure that out. Welcome, Atheist Page.
A suspicious mind is a healthy mind. You two are a disingenuous duo.
Why?
What does that mean?
You
a
guys don't even
suspicious
talk to
mind?
people. You boot them, you mute them,
Look,
talk over
this is
them.
not-
Especially you, Darth
I'm-
Dawkins. You can go fuck
I'm-
yourself.
I'm
Take your
about to
literature,
kick
roll it up
you,
your
but
ass.
I'm gonna
Roll it
kick
up your
you.
ass. Go on.
Fuckers.
Well, thank you for letting me know I need to block you.
Hey, I will gladly meet up with any of you guys for a face-to-face discussion.
As we always say, these people are mentally twisted. These are not normal human beings. Okay? They're vile. They're disgusting.
I'm not vile or disgusting.
Okay, well, we'll see.
Okay, let's find out.
So, do you accept God as your creator?
No.
Okay, can you tell me why there's no God?
I don't. There's no evidence that would indicate there is one.
Okay, so now what you've done is you've shape-shifted from classical atheism to an agnostic stance, where you're just in a state of being unconvinced.
Well, I wouldn't go to 0% on God because you can't prove the non-existence of anything.
Okay. And people think I don't have patience. I can prove the non-existence of a midget elected to the United States Senate. I can prove to you right now there's not a person who is a midget elected as a seated United States senator.
There is one. He's invisible and you can't see him.
All right, dude, we're not doing this kind of adolescent stupidity.
No,
Goodbye.
because what you're doing is stupid.
Bye. Look, we're looking for intelligent, mature-minded people, not people who are 20, 30, 40 something, but you have the mind of a 60-year-old. We're not doing that. I don't want my time wasted. Okay.
Welcome, evidence.
So, Darth, let's talk about your. You can prove that there's no midget serving in the United States Senate, right?
Yeah.
And I agree with that 100%. You can prove that things which we already know exist don't exist in a definable space, right? I can hold up a glass of water and say there's no whale in this glass of water.
Let me ask you a question.
A whale does not exist in this glass of water.
Sir, does proving things require a model of reality?
No, because what you're doing, because the other
evidence. We're going to have a
hold on.
conversation.
Can I just finish my thought, please?
I'm about to kick you. Okay. We're going to have a conversation here. You're not going to be a motor mouth on a bull in a china shop on our stage.
Sure.
Okay.
No problem.
I'm not going to tolerate obnoxious teenage behavior.
I accept what you've said.
Now you said, and that's good because a lot of people don't show that kind of modesty because then they get kicked. Now,
can I just get to the point of what I was trying to say?
I'm not done yet. Now, you said proving things does not require a model of reality.
That's not what I said at all.
I asked you the question. I said, does proving things require a model of reality? And you said no.
That I didn't answer that question because it's not relevant to what I was saying.
I asked you that. Look, we're done. You're done. When you lie, you're done. Bye. You see what pathological liars they are? He categorically asserted you don't need a worldview to prove things. You see, they can't help themselves. They just pathologically lie.
Why'd you prove something with epistemology?
You know, the more of them I talk to, the more and more they're convincing me that the majority of them have mental, spiritual aberrations. These are not normal people.
Hi, I'm curious. Can we have a conversation, or are you just interested in having a sermon?
We're having a debate.
You guys are not
Bye-bye.
having a debate. You're-
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
If you're going to come up here, not you, Daniel, if you're going to come up on stage and right out of the gate you start acting like a jackass, you're going to get kicked.
Hey man, how we doing?
Good. Are you an atheist?
No.
What are you?
I'm a Christian.
What would you like to say, sir?
No, I don't know. I just wanted to chat. But you can bring someone up if you want
Alright,
to
listen,
debate.
I'm just going to mute my microphone.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna end the stream because no one's.
Yeah, just a steady stream of idiots. All right, I might stream in a little while.
Okay, sounds good. We'll see you guys later. Not you, Daniel. He's talking about other people.
Okay, good.